Tell me your favorite healing modality.
That's a good question. One of my favorite healing modalities is breathing. And it's one of those things that's really underlooked because we do it all the time without thinking about it. And when we connect with our breath, it can just notice, where we are and how we're feeling and create a connection to the body and have an embodiment of what's really going on.
I love that because so often we are just holding our breath, and being able to just take in a nice deep breath and relax, it just really helps me get into my body. Tell me a tactic you've used to combat your inner critic.
The inner critic. This is a good one. So it might be a little silly. However, I believe the silliness really connects us to our inner child, which can help combat that inner critic. So one of the things I really use is awareness, acceptance, and action. So these things really help me acknowledge what's going on, awareness of the inner critic. And what's the story? What's the voice? What are they saying? And this acceptance of we all have an inner critic. We're all battling this. It's just this duration and frequency that we can work on. And the action part of the last of it is, for me, it's moving, it's shaking. Maybe it's shaking your hands, shaking your body, shaking your hips, maybe twerking. But really that movement will help move and process the emotion. It helps create a new space for you. So when you've moved and you've twerked and got it out, there's this new space of like, okay, now I can move from creation and instead of this inner critic.
So I like that response, and I really believe that the resistance around those thoughts is what really can get us tripped up. And the Buddhists really believe you have the thought, you acknowledge it, and you let it go. And so kudos to you for finding a way to battle that inner critic.
Thank you.
If you had one thing to share with someone who's just starting out in their healing journey, what would it be?
I personally started out with therapy, and I really believe this is something that has had a negative stigma in the world. However, I do think that's shifting, and it's powerful to go to someone and be able to talk and share your feelings. However, I do think that's someone we could vet and be interviewing them as well and finding someone who really resonates with us in our life and what we need at the time. So therapy would be my first place, and then there's some that come after that naturally, but that would be my first place to go.
So let's say you've tried therapy, it didn't work. Maybe you tried another therapist, it didn't work. Then what's next? What would be your suggestion?
This is good because this actually happened to me. So I was in 10 years of therapy, and very beneficial. I learned a lot about myself, self-awareness. There's many benefits. However, I was looking for something more, something deeper. And plant medicine is what, I came across, and that's really been powerful for me.
Can you, for those that don't know what plant medicine is, just kind of explain that?
Yeah, there's plant medicine. I mean, there's all different kinds, herbs, psychedelics. There's an array of options there, far from marijuana or weed, which is probably something I started with when I was young, but I would say something deeper, something that is a heart opener. So, I think it's also the intention behind it, because let me say, I explored younger as a kid, and I was very curious about different things, but the intention was different. When I was younger, it was more maybe escape, maybe social, maybe party, maybe avoid. Now the intention is healing. And that makes a difference, because for me, someone who's always going, maybe in my wounded masculine, moving, going, doing, operating by a to-do list and a calendar, this plant medicine gives me an opportunity to slow down. To shut that part of my brain off, because I don't know how to do that on my own yet. I will say this, plant medicine is a tool. It's a tool for healing. It's not the medicine. I mean, it is, but it's not really. You are the medicine. It's the tool to get you to connect with yourself and your heart and what your true desires are.
So a lot of people don't know what plant medicine is. Another name is psychedelics. There's all kinds of herbs, but these have been around for thousands of years and used for healing. Some of those medicines help you get into your heart and connect with the community or others. Some are more of an inward journey where it's just kind of a solo thing.
Yeah.
What could you add
I think both are really valuable, and the heart openers, the ones that connect you to your heart, for me were more for community, and that was something I was really seeking, is really solid, beautiful people who are doing the same work and up to the same thing in life. And then the inward ones were more for me for healing some of my trauma, healing some of my past, things that are easy to not deal with and be with, you know? So that helped me with that. I will say the intention matters, and the sacredness of it and the honoring of it. When I was younger, I was exploratory, and the intention was more play, or, you know, maybe even escape or party, or, you know, be accepted, or different things like that. When now it's really healing. It's a sacredness. It's a beautiful part of my healing journey now.
Beautiful. And I'll just add to that the set and setting, like you were talking about, is fundamental to the actual growth and healing that you will receive while using these beautiful plants, right?
Yes.
But the intention going into it is equally important. Yeah, you know, because I, like you, was a recreational party girl. I tried everything, including psychedelics back in the day.
Me too.
But I wasn't using them for the reasons that I am today.
Exactly.
And therefore, I wasn't getting the level of healing, growth, and change that I am today.
Yeah, me either. And, you know, this is something I wouldn't have talked about 3 or 4 years ago because of the fear of judgment or worry, the stigma. And now it's like I was kind of sharing with earlier, it's like letting go of what people think. Let them judge me. It's worked for me. It's healing for me. I've gained a community, friendships, love. I've only stepped more into my power and more into who I am because of this medicine.
Which is beautiful, because honestly, just in the short amount of time I've known you, I've already seen transformation. And that is powerful. And I've heard it many times, but the medicine is in the people. Yeah. And it's seeing that you can go and do something that I want to do helps me go and do that. That mirroring, you know, and that is one of the greatest gifts of plant medicine, and the community that comes with it is that.
Yeah. And that's really important. I love that you said community too, and expanded on that, because for me it also is to hold you account. You know, is like we can go off maybe and do plant medicine, and then we come back to our regular lives, or, you know, getting back into the, you know, the day to day. When we have the people around us that are also up to that, they can hold us account to who we said we want to be. Yeah. So I love that part too.
Yeah. So what do you think you've gained from plant medicine?
So many things. One of the things specifically I would say is, besides community, from, you know, opening my heart and connecting in that way, I would say recovering people pleaser. So I mean, I have grace and compassion for myself for being this way my whole life. I realized that it was a survival mechanism from childhood, and it served me very well in so many ways, and now it's not serving me. And, you know, plant medicine helped me connect to that, and connect to that inner child and where she was, and, you know, the lack of love or whatever it may be that she got, that, or maybe not seen, heard, or anything. People pleasing came a way of let me have love by pleasing others, and then I lose myself in that. So as I've grown in this, the people pleasing is starting to dissipate, and I'm really stepping into radical honesty, and that starts with myself.
Well, I can definitely relate to the people pleasing, and I would agree that plant medicine has helped me with a lot. I'm not exactly where I want to be, but I'm a lot further than I was.
Me too.
And I remember hearing this quote that said, "You would worry less about what others thought of you if you realized how seldom they do." And that really goes back to what you were saying about worrying about what other people thought of you. And plant medicine has helped me with that as well.
Me too. Yeah.
What would you say to someone who's interested in trying plant medicine?
The benefits that you can receive. There's, you know, just depends on you and your intention and what you're looking for. But one of them for me was healing my people pleasing. This is a recovering people pleaser that I've been my whole life. The awareness of it and the acknowledgement of it, and where it came from and where it started, and healing that inner child. And, you know, it was a survival mechanism. So having that grace and compassion for myself and her, and realizing that I do not have to go on people pleasing. I can I can disappoint people. I can let people down. And what if I pleased myself? And what if I chose myself, from a place of love, and really not caring so much about what people think, especially if they're not in my inner circle.
Right. Like, what would that actually look like?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I get it, because plant medicine for me I've been doing it for 7 years now, and, even just within 6 months, I already see a shift in the way that I handle things. I struggled with addiction and alcohol problems, drug problems, half my life. And plant medicine has helped me have a different kind of relationship. I had just lost a friend this last couple of weeks.
Sorry.
And the old Lindsay would have gotten lost in a bottle, gone and got some drugs, and just tried to numb out and escape. And what was so miraculous about that whole experience was that was never even a consideration.
Wow.
It not only wasn't my first thought, it wasn't any thought. And so, plant medicine has given me a life that I never could have dreamed was possible,
and a tool.
Just opened up other doors, because I'm so hungry for spiritual knowledge, right? I'll try anything, if it's going to make me feel good, I'll try anything. And it just keeps me on this continued quest of education and information, and it's all centered around healing.
Yeah, I love that. And there's awakening, like you said. I love that awakening. We're sort of evolving, because change is inevitable, but evolving isn't. It's not a part of change. And so sometimes I think that's also been something. It's just because people are aging and getting older, it doesn't mean they're getting wiser. It has to be intentional. It has to be something you are seeking. Yeah. Is that evolvement? Is that growth? Is that awakening?
Well, a lot of people, honestly, I don't know if they're just here for this life, this is their first lifetime, or if it's, because I look at a lot of people in my life, and they are definitely not on a path of ascension. They want to just go to work, come home, eat dinner, get on the couch, watch TV, rinse and repeat.
My family.
And, for me, I've always been a seeker. It sounds like you and I were very similar as kids. I was curious about a lot of different things, some good, some bad, but I've been able to take that curiosity and put it into healing, put it into myself.
Yeah.
And man, has it opened up some doors.
Yeah, I can see it in you. I can see
thank
it.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you, sister.
Yeah. And I love the curiosity of it too, and the growth. I mean, it's just what can happen for us is beautiful. And, like you said, maybe people are here for the first time, or who knows, and beliefs are different. I will say my family might be, I feel like the black sheep in my family, but I will say it's also they're teaching me love in a way of acceptance and accepting them for exactly the way that they are.
Exactly.
Maybe they're not here to ascend. Maybe they're not here to be a seeker, and we're the light in that. We're the ones like that. So they really actually are here as teachers for us. The people that maybe aren't on the same path. However, I kind of view everyone as a teacher, especially if they irritate me or bother me or trigger me or get under my skin. I don't even like the word triggered, maybe activated, So
for sure. Yeah. If somebody's triggering you or activating you, whatever you want to call it, there's a reason for it, and there's some work to do.
Yeah.
But a lot of people just want to say, well, I just don't like her. I don't like him. Yeah. I don't like this.
Yeah.
Rather than getting to the root of why it is. Because like they say, when you're pointing a finger at someone, there's three fingers pointing back at you.
Oh, yeah.
So there's always something to be reflecting back in that, right?
And I'm guilty of that, right? I do think I'll own that. There's humanness in that. It's just always feedback for us, So it's doing the inner work and noticing when we are judgmental, or, maybe even things aren't good or bad, like you said earlier. It's also just, it is what it is. It just is. We always do the best we can at the time with the information we have.
Yeah.
So maybe it's not good or bad. It's just where we were at the time.
It just is.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was one of the greatest obstacles that you overcame, or maybe you're overcoming?
I'm still overcoming relationships and romantic relationships and working on that. And then something I think from the past was, loss. I lost my mom when I was 19. So it's not really something you overcome, but maybe grow through and just the grief and the dark night of the soul that happened for me afterwards.
Well, I'm sorry for the loss with your mom. I imagine that when that happened, life looks a lot different today than it did back then. And it is a testament to all the work that you have been putting in to nurturing yourself, you know, giving yourself love that you couldn't get from your mom. And that is beautiful.
Yeah. Just also forgiving little 19-year-old self me too. So for me, I wasn't the greatest overcomer of that at first. You know, when she passed, I actually had a good job and a boyfriend, and I had moved out at 17. I was living on my own and doing my thing. And when she died, I quit school, quit playing soccer. I lost the boyfriend, I lost the job, and I started drinking and partying. Kind of what we were talking about earlier, exploratory. A dark night of my soul is I started dating a guy that was in his 40s. I was 19. I just thought, a dream life.
Right.
And he was not great. Access to drugs. And I started working as a go-go dancer. And that he, you know, wasn't great for me, had other girlfriends. And I at the time, he was like paying for a bunch of things and paying for my car and paying for my apartment and all these things, and then said that I owed him $40,000. If I wasn't going to pay him, he would kill me. So also forced me to have sex with him. I didn't want to. So survivor of that. I did get pregnant. Didn't keep that baby. And so, yeah, it was a really challenging time. And so I actually danced to get the $40,000 paid back.
Wow.
And I think the judgment that came out of that for a long time for me and was really hard for me. However, I think you couldn't judge me harder than I judge myself.
No.
No, there's no way. But it was I was just figuring things out. And I think that part of my life was so dark, and I went to the depths of my soul, that coming out of that was like a beautiful part of it. And I think what it was realizing how deep and dark you can go, and then what you can come through, who you can become. It's like you don't know the light until you know the dark.
Absolutely. You can't have the light without the dark, right?
Yeah.
And it is those very experiences that create the human beings, the resilient human beings that we are today.
Amen.
And why is it that we don't seem to grow a whole lot when things are going swimmingly?
Yeah.
We want to hang on and make sure nothing changes, right?
Yeah.
But when we are in pain, when we have loss and grief, we are going to reach for anything to fill that God-shaped hole.
And it was drugs and alcohol for me at the time. And then there was this moment of, my mom would want better for me. I have a calling for something more. And, you know, my dad was a struggling alcoholic, and he decided to get sober. He's actually been sober for 20 years now.
Wow.
Yeah, so hats off to Pops. And that was inspiring to me, actually, because I hated him and I wasn't speaking to him. So moved back into my dad's house and decided that it was just the calling that called me forward. You are meant for more for this. Yeah.
Well, and you are.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.